here.
So, I've still got this other fuzzy snowball Christmas ornament. I want to make it into a monster, but I have no idea what kind of monster to make. Usually when I make a new monster, I have a plan, a general idea at least, where I want to end up. For this little guy, I really have no idea where I'll end up. I just want to use foam clay. First, I think I'll use this Muppet skin on something else, so I just peel that off and set it aside. I decide I want a kind of bat face, with big bug eyes and a slit nose. So I draw the face on the ball with a Sharpie, and then I cut along the lines and pick out the foam with the almighty awl. I hit it with a heat gun just to firm up the foam. I want this little monster to have big goofy feet, so I twist up some garden wire to shape out the feet and legs. These will have to support the weight of the whole piece, but because it's almost all foam, it's super light. I shove the leg wires in and glue them in place. Then I adjust it until the balance feels right. I decide to give him some long ape arms. So I jam some more wire through the foam and rough out the position of the arms. Then I cover the arms and legs in aluminum foil and hot glue them into place to secure them. Once that's done, I go through my bits box and grab as many teeth as I can find. I cut a foam ball in half to make eyes that are matched in size. And once those are glued in place, I start adding foam clay to fill in around the eyes and nose, and then build up around the face. On this first pass, I'm going to cover the whole thing in foam clay and build up a few areas like the brow and lip, but most of the build up and detail in those areas will come later. Right now it's just about coverage and basic shape. I'm starting to get some Boglin vibes off this guy, but I want rows of teeth like a shark, but have them be like regular incisors and lots of them. Like this guy would wreck some corn on the cob. You can always kill two birds with one stone by shaping and texturing at the same time by using a texture stamp on the foam clay. Although, that is kind of a violent metaphor to kill two birds with one stone. Think we could come up with something nicer? Like, I don't know, feed two homeless guys with the same sandwich? I don't know, that seems a little happier. And since I don't really know what I'm going to do at this point, I can just kind of move the clay around until it looks cool. Now I have to stick the eyes on and sculpt lids around them to blend them in. I also have to make pieces for later. The trick to foam clay is making bits ahead of time. So I'm making teeth and toenails and big finger claws, like a sloth. That's what I want his hands to look like. Big clawed sloth hands. Have you ever seen a sloth? Look at this. They've got vicious looking claws for climbing trees and digging through tree bark for grubs and stuff. I add more foam eyeballs. And now I start adding in some of the teeth. Foam clay really likes to stick to foam clay, even when one bit is completely dry. So you can move the teeth around and get good gum shapes that really look like they're adapting to the teeth. I add more teeth and move the clay around to make the gums. Then I do it over and over and over until I'm out of dry teeth. Then I fill in the rest of the bottom of the mouth and add even more teeth. But hey, let's not forget about more eyes. We need more eyes. Now I made the tongue off camera. It's dry now, so I add it in. I'm out of red clay, so I switch to purple, continuing to cover the whole surface. I also add some random spikes to the arms. I think my idea at this point is a carrion eater that waddles in the muck of the swamp, eating whatever bones it can find by grinding and scraping on them with rows and rows of teeth. I imagine the sound would be horrible, like nails on a chalkboard, but worse. So I make more teeth, and more, because he needs more teeth. I also decide he needs a more scowly brow, so I add in some clay to the brow to give him more of a scowl and to build up the area around the nose and the lip. Then I shape it all out with a texture stamp. And now for more teeth. At this point, I've settled on a swamp ghoul theme. I'm adding in a dash of zombie spice. so he's a bit rotten and decayed, but I wouldn't say he's undead. Like I said earlier in the video, you can always build on top of an area if you think it needs more. I think he needs more lips. And I'm also getting a bit of a Ratfink vibe from this guy now too. I use water and a firm brush to smooth and blend the new clay into the already dried clay. At this point, it's mostly just repeating this same process over and over, building on the previous layers. I build the lips and then blend them in. Then I add more eyes and blend those in. And while I make these eyes, maybe you can see your way to hit like and subscribe. Next, I make the feet. I rough out the shape of the foot and then carve some big goofy toes into it. And then I smoosh some big goofy toenails into the big goofy toes. And repeat the process for the other foot. On the back, I start with the eyes first. I stick down a bunch of eyes and then I blend them in. I cover the rest of the surface with clay, and I use a chip brush with the top half of the bristles trimmed off. This makes the brush much firmer, perfect for moving clay around to create a great skin texture. After that, I make the hands. And because he's going to be a knuckle dragger, I fold the claws under the hands and shape the fingers around them. Then I blend and texture. I make a few final touches, build up the brow a bit more, and then it's on to paint. I base it out in blood red, mixed with Mod Podge. Then, I brush flesh tones over the skin surface. While it's not technically a dry brush, I do only hit the high points, leaving the low points blood red. Now this is my mid-tone flesh color. I have a darker tone and a lighter tone, and you'll see how I use those later. Next, I spatter wash on some green with the airbrush. Then I apply a bit of a purple wash with a cotton swab into the low points, and I wipe off the excess with a damp paper towel. And remember, this kind of purple color mixed with Mod Podge is going to dry a lot darker. Then I do a red wash in the same way, including the dab with a damp paper towel. After that, I use a makeup blush brush to dry brush the lighter skin tone across the highest points. Then I do another purple wash around the eyes and mouth. I paint the claws and the toenails with a light tan color. Next, I start on the eyes and paint them all with a white base. When that's dry, I add a big black circle to every eye. Then, I paint the teeth bone white. And a little pink for the tongue. Next, I paint green right up to the edge of the black circle in the eyes, leaving just a thin black outline. I use a cotton swab pulled into a thin fiber to paint bloodshot veins around the eyes. And now, I use a tedious technique to paint layers and layers of almost invisible paint for the iris, which looks awesome in person, but you really can't see or appreciate it on camera at all. I paint the blacklight reactive paint mixed with Mod Podge at about 80% Mod Podge to 20% paint. Then I scratch lines in it back and forth with a toothpick. This creates a really great striation effect for the iris. So I do one layer, and let it dry, and then do it over and over and over again. Then I switch to a 50-50 mix and repeat the process over and over again. Lastly, I add the pupils. And when that's dry, I coat the eyes in UV resin and cure it with a UV light. And with that, this little monster is all done. On to the beauty shots. Hey, thanks for checking out my video. Please hit like and subscribe to the Dark Nook Monster Shop for more creepy creatures and crafty creations.